Folks, welcome back to episode 3 of the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy. I'm your host, Vin Kennedy. Last episode kind of went into how physically pushing myself and physically transforming myself transformed me mentally. And, we talked about just self-confidence, self-belief, some discipline, and just some things that really help create the person I am today. A big advocate for creating who I am today was and is these challenges that I throw at myself. And one big challenge I kind of wanted to shed light on and show the other side of is my bodybuilding show. So, you see the outside of these bodybuilding competitors, or really anybody that goes into a show, and you see, they're lean, they look good on stage, oiled up, the fake tan, but you don't really see or hear the back end of that and kind of what goes into everything before you get onto stage. And then even just the mental battles you face and the struggles of it. Of course, I personally, obviously, put myself through this, willingly did this, not looking for pity at all. I did it for the journey and the growth that I knew that would come from doing something that can really just take so much discipline and so much consistency and so much restraint with meals, with workouts, with your social life. I'm personally my best when I'm chasing goals. I love to live in the moment and enjoy the journey, having that thing to chase after while really living where my feet are and going through everything, the ups and the downs to get to that goal. I love that. And it that's what shapes me into who I am today and the best version of myself. And that's something I'm just constantly chasing. But at the same time, being grateful for everything that I have, everything, around me, everything going on, and being grateful for really everything. A couple things to note when it comes to the bodybuilding prep. So my prep was 16 weeks long. I've dieted strict before, but this is a different type of diet and meal plan, because for me, I've always kind of done things to my own accord. Now you're listening to a coach who maps out a plan for you and you kind of can't deviate from it. And me personally, I hold myself accountable. I love to keep the promises to myself, but knowing that I, one, have to step on a stage, and two, there's a coach that's counting on you to do what he sets in place for you to do. So there's no deviation, but it's a different type of discipline that comes in when you add someone like a coach. So really, obviously, physically, it's very apparent what's going on. You're leaning out, not one of these mass monsters that I like to use that term. Basically, not one of these giant muscle dudes. This was a men's physique show. You really just want to get as lean as you can. You want to come in as conditioned as you can. Really, it's just about your look. You want to look aesthetic. You want to look proportionate. And again, just as dry and lean as you can. To do that, obviously you're dieting down. So 16 weeks, strict diet. There's cardio involved. Cardio gets upped. Food gets taken out as you go. And then obviously everybody's coach has different plans and specific to their athlete. I know towards the end, obviously very low carb, high cardio, and you're going through it. Again, something I personally chose to do. So not complaining. But, it takes a toll on you. So when you're in a position like that, I'm personally someone that doesn't get very, very moody or very agitated easy. A lot of things just roll off my back. If you know me, I don't really snap at people. I don't really argue. I don't yell. I'm just personally very even keeled. I like to have control over my emotions and not let outside forces kind of dictate how I feel. When you're deep in prep, though, that kind of went out the window. So what I would do was just be quiet. I was just silent for majority of the time, and people were picking up on this. Family, friends were definitely like, what's going on? And I'm just like, it's either this or I'm gonna start being mean to people, and I don't like doing that, so I'd rather just be quiet. So that was kind of something that I was dealing with. You're restricting, you're depriving yourself of food you definitely need, and then you're really working yourself hard, especially with the amount of cardio I was up to. Again, it's all part of sticking to the plan. Now, another con personally that I didn't like about bodybuilding and the prep that goes into it is that you were the whole time you're counting down. So you're not living in the moment. You're not enjoying the days. You're just counting the days down. So I'm sure anybody that's heard of anybody in a bodybuilding prep, and then if you've seen any of my short TikToks, it's 10 weeks out, 9 weeks out, 3 days out. You're really just counting down the whole time to just get to that day. So personally, why I did it was the journey of it. I enjoy the journey of it. Love the beginning, love the middle. But when you get to the end, maybe the last 5 weeks, depending on who you are, it's just no fun. It really isn't. It's when the discipline comes in. That's when you're grinding it out. You didn't lose 5 weeks of your life, but you were counting down 5 weeks of your life. And it's just not a way that I personally like to live. Some people will make the argument I'm on my phone too much, but I tend to really do my best to live in the moment and live where my feet are. Our most valuable asset is time. So if you're sitting there counting down the days, you're technically just throwing away your most valuable asset. That was kind of my biggest gripe with just the whole premise of a bodybuilding prep is that you're working so hard to get to stage, but you're not really. It's tough in those last couple weeks to enjoy any of it. You just feel like you're depleted, you're restricted, and me personally, you want cookies. Another con would be your social life definitely takes a toll. I feel like this one's talked about because obviously, you're following a strict plan. You can't go out to eat. You can't go out. I'm not a big drinker, but you can't really go out to drink or social events that involve eating and drinking. And just the society we live in, that's basically everything. Again, for the goal, completely okay. Not something I am going to continuously do just because of these cons. Will I ever do one again? Potentially. For a while, probably not. Another big takeaway is your relationship with food. So obviously anybody that's dieted or heavy into working out, unfortunately, again, not everybody, but some people tend to create a weird or bad relationship with food. I've been there myself. Some of it in the beginning for me kind of led to or was because of just not knowing nutrition, not knowing what to eat. So, you always heard like, just eat grilled chicken, or if you want to put on sides, you just eat a lot of food, but there's no direction. And knowing now, I sometimes will look back and be like, oh, how does that person not know? But you think back to when you were in that position. It's very easy to not know. If you don't know, you don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of my personal stuff from the beginning came to not knowing what to eat or how to eat or how to structure meals. But when you do something like this, you're so restricted that you're likely to binge eat after. And I definitely did for the night of the show. The next day, kind of just enjoyed myself. Again, you work really hard for 16 weeks. Feel free to enjoy yourself. Me personally, I do definitely have a little bit of an issue with binge eating as far as, I'll restrict myself for 2 to 3 weeks or a long period of time. I have no problem once I turn it on to that's it, I'm locked in. But once I flip that switch of I have that first cookie, you look up and there's boxes of Oreos around you and you're wondering how you got there. Definitely something I deal with. I feel like a lot of people deal with in the fitness community, for lack of a better term, but it's that whole all or nothing mentality. Definitely something I'm working on. This past weekend, for example, this was kind of like my second show binge, if you will. I was sitting watching the Harvard band perform and just absolutely inhaling Mike's pastries. There was incredible cannolis, cookies, just really anything I was able to get my hands on. But there's something to be said where, we put such a fixation on food, and then there's these quote unquote bad foods. Personally, I like to just stay away from it, keep it out of reach, out of my house, less likely to eat and indulge in it and even think about it. And my biggest issue with it is not you'll wake up the next morning, put on 10 pounds of water weight and look at the scale, and some people freak out. And I used to, you binge eat, you wake up and you're 10 pounds heavier. You're like, how is this even possible? And it's not, because it's just water retention. It's the carbs and the sugars, and it's not real weight. Now, even if you just break it down to the numbers, 3,500 calories is 1 pound. You would throw up before you ate close to 10 pounds of food. It's not possible. And then that would mean you had no output for that day. So if you really look at the numbers, it's not possible. It definitely could freak people out, especially if you've never if you just restricted for a while, you just got into dieting, and then you have a day where you overindulge. You definitely freak out. I used to do it myself. And then I learned, like, you fall right back in your diet, or you're eating your meal plan, and the weight just falls off. Some days it would take 2 days, some days it would take 3 days. Definitely in a much better place where I used to, the next day, that's it. Running 10 miles, I got to burn all this off. Don't do that anymore. I understand if you just fall back into your normal eating, which my normal eating is generally very consistent and healthy, the weight just falls right off. I definitely need to find more of a balance with it, but for right now, it's where we're at. Relationship with food is definitely a pitfall to bodybuilding prep, and I could see how it could affect a lot of people in a negative way. Another one for me was, they call it prep brain, which is basically just brain fog. You're very depleted. Personally, once I went, and a lot of people, once you go low in fats really affect your cognitive ability. I know I was just out of it. You're having a conversation, losing train of thought, can't, remember the words you're looking for, or you just mentally aren't quick. You kind of feel slow. And for me personally, it's just very unenjoyable. And especially for a couple of weeks, depending on what you do for work, well, really, if you do, anything you do, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage. So it was not something I enjoyed going through there. Now, personally, for the pros to show and to prep, I loved just the self-confidence you build up day after day, staying consistent with the plan, doing the things you said you were going to do, getting on the Stairmaster, doing your cardio, eating, if you have specific windows you need to eat in, or just say even in the beginning of a prep, some people are, eating more meals than they're used to. So if you have to struggle to get that last meal down, or, you really want, even if you're scaling, everybody generally scales out food, you want to pour a little more and you don't. It's the little things like that. Or I know a big one for me was, which I did not do the whole time. You're taking a scoop of peanut butter, you measure out 16 grams, and you maybe want to take a little more, or you want to lick the spoon. And it was something I personally just wouldn't do. It's the little things that add up and they compound, and it creates that self-belief in yourself that you're holding yourself accountable. You're doing the things that you said you would do, and just sticking to the plan. I personally love the structure of it, and for certain people it could be detrimental. For me personally, I love it. The first 24 years of my life, and I'm sure if you told my mother that I would love structure and routine as much as I do, she'd probably say you're crazy. I don't know, there's just something about having something to chase after and doing the little things each day and just breaking off a piece of that bigger goal and knowing what it's for. And it comes back to delayed gratification, which is huge. And it's sacrificing what you want now for what you want most. And for me, a lot of nights it was cookies and cake, and I can't even tell you how many times I Googled or put in Instagram or TikTok best New Jersey desserts, or was on a huge diner kick for some reason, just because at a diner you could literally get it all. Big pancake guy, so you get pancakes, fries, whatever you want. But it's the little, it's the satisfaction of that night. You're Googling all that, and you wake up in the morning and you didn't eat any of it. It's a weird, cool, rewarding feeling. And then you get up in the morning, you feel good, and you go for a lift, and you go do your cardio, you go do a lift, you eat a healthy meal, and it just starts back up again, the momentum, and you kind of just got to carry that day after day. Like I said, towards the end, you kind of get into like just needs to end. Like, I need to do this, get through this. But in the beginning, it was really, I enjoyed it. I had fun. It was something new for me. I love taking on new challenges and challenging myself in new ways, because I feel like it really does help develop myself and my character, and just really teaches me things about myself that I might not have learned if I didn't push myself in this new venture. But yeah, it really goes back to delayed gratification and just sacrificing for the bigger goal. At the same time, until I got to probably 4 or 5 weeks out, it wasn't really this grind. I'm kind of always doing a couple workouts a day or a longer workout, generally lift like 6 days a week. So that wasn't really crazy to me. When I started adding crazy cardio, that Stairmaster specifically, the thing still has my soul. I'll never get back on a Stairmaster again unless I do another show. But you can listen to all the motivational videos in the world to get you on that Stairmaster. But when you have to do an hour on the Stairmaster, you could only listen to Eric Thomas talk for so long. It's going to run out. And, I remember specifically there was times where I'm listening to 5 seconds of songs and I'm just getting sick of them. And I'm like, I need something else. Motivation will get you in the door. Those videos, you could hype yourself up as much as you want. But at the end of the day, you're on the Stairmaster for 60 minutes. You have to lift. You have to go to work. You have to eat specific meals. And you're going to bed hungry, basically. You're eating sleep for dinner. You weirdly grow from pushing yourself to these extremes. And it's something I've learned in other endurance events I've put myself through. And it was something I truthfully learned the hard way in the bodybuilding prep. I'm getting up at 6 to go do cardio, go do fasted cardio, to come home to eat, to go back to the gym, to do more cardio, lift, and then go to work. And then some days, you weren't done. You had to go back to the gym and do a little more cardio, just because if I didn't split it up, I was gonna go crazy. I was probably at the gym for a longer duration sometimes than the employees that work there. It was terrifying. It's just one of those things you gotta do it. I committed to a goal, and I don't break these goals. Same with this podcast. I tried to record this the other day and just wasn't feeling it. I don't want to force them, but I said that I'm going to do these weekly, so I have to do these weekly. It's those little promises with yourself that develop your character. And probably the biggest benefit I got from bodybuilding and show prep was the ability to learn about myself and about my body. Simple things. Everybody would just assume romaine lettuce is good for you, though it doesn't sit well in my stomach. I don't digest it well. That's not a food that I'm going to eat going forward, just because it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't matter if it's healthy or unhealthy or deemed healthy or unhealthy. And there was a lot of little things like that. And it's easy to learn because you're so restricted and constrained. So one little switch or deviation, you could kind of pick up on what caused what because of how structured everything was. And then another cool little tidbit that I learned was salt. I always drink a ton of water, not realizing it. Obviously, things are cooked with oil, or things are cooked, certain sauces on certain foods. And, there's salt in all those sauces, and salt also gives you electrolytes. So I was chugging water, not a lot of sauce on my meals, not a lot of seasoning, not a lot of spices, and I was dehydrated. And I'm drinking over a gallon of water a day. And how is this possible? And then I realized, I'm flushing all of the electrolytes and salt out of my body from chugging this water. So I'm actually dehydrating myself. And then I started salting foods and realized, oh wait, this is helping. This works. I have more energy now because I have more electrolytes, more salt in my body. Salt also sometimes gets a bad rap. Not here to go into the nutrition and battle of salt versus sugar, but salt is not a bad thing. That's a good place to pick up and basically throw in this book. This book is Eat Smarter by Shawn Stevenson. He is a really a smart guy, great with nutrition. This book is all about eating a healthy whole diet, including fruits, including vegetables. He goes into depth about fat and how, fat's not a bad thing. Kind of also gets deemed as a bad macronutrient. But yeah, it's a great read. Anybody into nutrition or just dieting in general. Lastly, to wrap up my experience, and then there's show day. What that's about. I mean, you had 16 weeks to kind of do your best to present yourself on stage. And it's funny because you're eating such a disciplined, structured diet. Me personally, and most competitors, very clean food. And then you go behind the scenes show day and you have people. I had a guy, really funny guy. He was just chain eating Sour Patch Kids. People will tend to eat carbs and sugars to help them fill up, make them look a little more full when they get on stage. And he was like, he just turned to me. He's like, can you do me a favor and just take these away from me? I was like, what? He's like, can you take the Sour Patch Kids away from me? I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, I can't stop eating them. So it's funny because, you were just restricted for 16 weeks. He was told by his coach to have a couple Sour Patch Kids, but, like I often have done, he opened the floodgates and that was it. And I had to hide the Sour Patch Kids on him, and I did. And then I turned around again and he went and got them. And I was just, what are we doing? But it's, that just goes to show when you're restricted for so long and you open those floodgates, it's crazy. Me, myself, even on the way home from my show, I ate, I don't even know, like 6 Slutty Brownies, probably 2 My Cookie Dealers, which if you don't know, they're like a half-pound cookie, like over 1,000 calories each. Of course, nobody's tracking calories the day of their show or after their show. It was a lot. And then I went home and I think I ate a whole pie of buffalo chicken pizza. I tend to do a lot of things as all or nothing, but that's definitely something I'm working towards, having a better relationship with food. Every once in a while, I'll even like kind of trick myself and just work in like a little something that I usually overindulge in, just to try and have more of a balanced relationship with junk food. Is really my personal weakness. Depending on how you know me, where you know me from, I could be very outgoing, or some people know me as a little more reserved. When it came to high school, loved presenting, loved being in front of the class. One class clown. My mother's thrilled. When it came to college, and I think this was just a lack of confidence, I hated presenting. I hated getting up in front of a class. I would actually freak out, and I despised it. But this was something that not only was I pushing myself physically and mentally with the prep itself, I knew getting on stage would kind of unlock another level of confidence in myself that I've kind of ran from in the past, as far as presentations in school and just any avenue where I had to public speak. I would kind of come up with an excuse or find a way around it. And again, obviously not public speaking on the stage, but just putting yourself out there in that way was something that I did because it scared me. And that's kind of something I've been trying to implement more in my life, is just doing the things that scare me, because on the other side of that fear, it just unlocks these new levels. And the confidence that I've grown from doing certain challenges and events like that, it's insane. It really puts things in perspective as far as like, what is the fear of it? And there's nothing to fear but fear itself. Anybody gets anything from this podcast, it would just be to do more things that actually scare you, because one, you realize there is nothing to be afraid of, and two, it's just going to help you, your self-confidence, and you personally grow. I would hope, and I would think, that's what we're all kind of trying to figure out, is like how to become the best version of ourselves. That kind of touches on a later episode that I have kind of pre-planned already, but that's my why. I want to be the best version of myself, because I know that's when I can influence the most people in a positive way, and kind of have that trickle effect where, like he did it, or just seeing people do things that they're uncomfortable with and watching them level up and basically just be confident and proud and happy. And that's something I would love to just influence and help as many people as I can do that. And that was kind of the whole premise of starting this, is, I hope that in each episode there's something that people could take away and utilize in their life in a positive way. Not change necessarily, but evolve for the better. I kind of took in so much content during COVID. Like I went into last episode and I just saw what that does. And it's just little tidbits here and there. Again, not trying to be Tony Robbins or recreate the wheel here. I think everybody has a story and everybody can learn from everyone. I'm big on like a white belt mentality. So even the guys at the top are learning from everybody below them to become the best version of them, so that they could positively impact everyone around them. And that's kind of been the whole premise of this podcast. And probably should have started with that now that I'm talking about it. But one of the next episodes is going to be my why, and kind of why this started, and then my why for why I do a lot of things that I have going on and that I have done in the past. That's kind of this. This is the little wrap up. Basically what I got going on right now, you may or may not have seen, I'm doing 75 hard. I've done this challenge in the past. In the past, I've was kind of just restricting myself and making this 10 times harder than it had to be. This is a challenge with 5 tasks. They're all scalable. One is diet. You got to just follow a meal plan. No alcohol, no cheat meals. Another one is 2 workouts, 45 minutes each. One has to be inside, or one has to be outside. They can both be outside if you want. Take a progress picture every day. You don't have to post it anywhere. Just have to take the picture. Read 10 pages of entrepreneur type book, and drink a gallon of water a day. So this is all very scalable. The workouts, people think of that as, I got to go do an Ironman every day. And it's not what you have to do. You could walk twice in the day if you want to do it. Anybody could do this challenge. And it seems like it's restrictive with your time and kind of takes away from things, but it actually teaches you time management. And a lot of people also go into it thinking it's a physical transformation challenge, which it will physically transform you if you follow these things how they're supposed to be followed. It's so much more than that, because you just gain so much confidence. And again, it goes back to keeping the promises that you make with yourself. So anybody who's any interest in starting it or joining I'm going to be posting about it probably daily on Instagram at VKennedy18. And then I have a Facebook group about it. So if you're friends with me or if you want to add me on Facebook, I could add you to the group and just help keep people accountable. Last time I did it, I was 32 days in, kind of just being too crazy about it. And, if I didn't run the full 45 minutes, I even think at one point I walked to the water fountain and I didn't pause my watch. And I was like, oh, that's a big problem. Need help, man. Yeah, now in a much better place with workouts, and I'm going to strategically plan my workouts as far as, if it's supposed to be like a Sunday rest day, I'll go do some yoga and I'll go for a walk. I'm not going to drive myself into the ground. I have a marathon coming up in Colorado. Just locked in my marathon coach. Very excited about that. Jeff Cunningham. He is the man. We had a long phone call today. Just so much insight. Just a really smart guy. Definitely excited to see what me and him can do and put together for that Colorado Marathon. He has a bunch of just stud athletes that he works with, Nick Bear being one of them. Really exciting stuff. That's episode 3, folks. If you can, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you guys.